New details on the alleged murder of a young man by his fiance. Prosecutors say interrogation tapes capture her saying she wants him dead. But here's the question this morning. Will the jury ever hear those words? 2020 anchor Elizabeth Vargas is here this morning with much more. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hey, David. Angelika Graswald is accused of killing her fiance, Vincent Villafor, while the two were out kayaking on the Hudson River last spring. There is no forensic evidence in this case and no eyewitnesses. The case rests almost entirely on Graswald's words during an 11-hour taped interrogation and a conversation with the detective that was not recorded and happened before she was read her rights. A state police investigator is now testifying that Angelika Graswald admitted to him that she took her fiance's paddle after he capsized in his kayak and held it while he begged her to call 911. The detective also testified that during their 45-minute conversation, Graswald said she felt trapped by Villafor and wanted to be free of his demands of sex with him and another woman. But in Graswald's 11-hour taped interrogation obtained by ABC News, she repeatedly denies killing her fiancé and says her desperate calls to 911 were real.
Go see him. Oh, my God.
Can you see the kayak still?
No, the kayak went underwater. Oh, my God.
But after hours and hours of questions, punctuated with yoga breaks and hopscotch, Graswald does finally utter these damning words.
I wanted him dead, and now he's gone. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that.
Graswald spoke to me exclusively from jail.
Why would you say something like that?
Well, they kept asking me the same questions like 100 times. I knew that I was innocent. It was at my breaking point. I had it. So I just gave them what they wanted.
At the center of the case, the kayak's drain plug. Prosecutors claim Graswald removed it, causing the kayak to take on water and sink.
Why didn't you have that plug in there?
He didn't have it because I guess I had it.
This is the infamous plug.
It is, yeah.
That prosecutors say Angelika removed in a plot to kill Vince. But this plug is, what, ½ an inch in diameter?
Just look at how large the cockpit is, where the seat is. There's a lot of water that can enter that. That's a big hole. This is a really small hole.
It's a tiny hole.
Our experiment showed that this kayaker had no trouble crossing the Hudson in an identical kayak with the plug removed.
Did you remove the plug from Vince's kayak with an intent to kill him?
No, I did not.
Angelika's attorney is Rich Portal, now under a gag order. We spoke with him last year.
She did not confess to killing Vincent Villafor, and there are many reasons why he died. My client removing that drain plug was not one of them.
Graswald, who was pleaded not guilty, still maintains she did not kill Villafor.
Did you kill Vince?
No.
That day?
No, I loved him. I didn't do it.
Those questions will be critical, those interrogation tapes, and the judge will now decide after 5 days of hearings whether or not to admit them in this case.
Yeah, this is a really remarkable story, Elizabeth. And let's bring in Dan Abrams right now as well and talk about the pretrial hearing that is specifically about Angelika's statements to police, statements that are crucial.
I think even the prosecutors would concede if they can't get in these statements, they have no case. This is the case. These statements, and there are two sets of statements. Remember, there's first a statement that she makes before that interrogation you see on tape, and that's the one where the authorities say she made even more incriminating statements. And so you have a police officer basically saying, here's what she said to me. She basically told me she did it. She told me why she did it, etc. But then when you get her on the interrogation tape, she's not saying the sorts of things that the police officer is saying that she said the first time.
And the detective says, keep saying, remember you told me, and she's like, no. And also that statement, that conversation, that 45-minute conversation on Bannerman's Island that was not recorded was also done before she was read her rights.
Well, and I was going to ask you, is that the defense's argument to keep these statements out?
That's the entire argument, right? Is that effectively what the defense is saying is they knew she was already a suspect. They were there to effectively meet her so they could interrogate her. And as a result, the defense says, she should have been read her Miranda warning before she made this statement. The police are saying, no, We were there. She was not necessarily a suspect. It was only after she made those statements to us did she become a suspect. And then they did read her Miranda rights before the taped interrogation.
Although it's interesting, the one witness the defense called in this hearing that just concluded testified that she went over 3 times on Bannerman's Island to intervene because she thought the detectives were bullying Angelika. So 3 times she went over to say, "Are you okay?" Because that conversation that the detectives sort of portrayed as this, let's have a talk on the beach in Bannerman's Island, was actually quite
the drain plug.
pointed.
Quickly, obviously we saw that you had an expert there showing that they didn't think it would sink the kayak alone. Did she ever say why she removed the drain plug in the first place?
She said she might have taken it out a few months earlier as a cat toy. But the bottom line is, Amy, even if you get those tapes in and even if you buy that she wanted to kill him, killing somebody like this, removing that tiny drain plug, would not make that kayak go down.
And think about the risk to herself also in connection with
He was
this.
a much bigger man. She was a very tiny woman. There's a lot of problems with the case. It'll be very interesting to see how the judge rules.
Very interesting to see your
And if the
report,
judge keeps
indeed.
it out, case is over.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.